Final hour live from Royal Montreal Golf Club. We're in Montreal. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 now up on TSN 2 across the country. And I know people are jacked across the country for what's about to transpire out here because it is the international team versus the Americans, but it's really going to be Canada versus the U.S. That's the way we're setting this up, right? You got 3 Canadians on the team. You got Mike Weir, who's the captain, and we're at Royal Montreal. You can't beat it. And we had Brad Faxon join us around the table earlier this afternoon. We've had Fax on a bunch over the years. And now we got Dan Rapaport here, who we've had on a bunch, and it's great to see you in studio, man. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, nice to do this in person. I'm used to like a grainy phone call. So
exactly.
Good, yeah.
We know you like to chat about different cities, different cultures. Are you looking forward to anything Canadian, Montreal up here? Give me some feedback. What are you looking for as far as away from here?
So I'll tell you my initial sort of takeaways is I can't believe how French this place is.
It's incredibly
it's just
French.
It's France.
Yes.
I went to Best Buy. I hope my bosses aren't watching this, to buy like my 12th microphone because I lose them all the time. And it said électronique, so I could figure it out, but there was no English in the store.
Right.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
And it seems like all the signs here, I don't know if if that's like in the contract.
No, it's all French, man.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Full
You try to go to Quebec City, like Montreal. There's a lot of English-speaking people. You get into rural areas of Quebec, you start speaking English, they'll just stare at you.
They pretend you do not exist.
That's not your issue. Yeah, exactly.
They move along.
And basically, they're not wrong. You're in their
you're in their
town.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's like you gotta speak French. But the move is you just say parlez-vous anglais. Just say or anglais,
Yeah.
and then people generally speaking are like, yeah, we speak English.
I've just been the
like,
done
go
being
ahead.
like English, and they're like, okay, and they sigh. But
English
no,
works too. I
It's
guess.
I'm definitely going to explore. This seems like a really cool place.
Yeah,
so I'm
it's an
excited
awesome.
about it.
It's an awesome spot, and they're back here obviously for the, I guess, second time, right? They were here in 07 for the President's Cup, and it was pretty ugly for the international team back in 07, and we're trying to ramp this up. Like, we know what the Americans represent. We know what they've done in this tournament. We know their players. We know their world rankings. Can you spin this for us from an international standpoint? What happens here if we're standing here on Sunday and the international team somehow has won this?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I think there's 2 keys. I think number 1 is the Canadians have to play out of their mind. They have to play inspired. If I'm Mike Weir, I'm putting out 2 Canadians in the first match.
Well, they're going to be inspired. Let me interrupt you, but it's just got to translate into playing great.
That's right. They've got to play out of their minds, and they've got to get the home crowd really into it. And then the other player that I'm looking at that's really important, I think, is Minwoo Lee. I think this is a big week for him. You know, he had an interesting year where he finished, I think, he didn't, make it very deep in the FedEx Cup playoffs. I think he finished 60th. So he wasn't in all of the signature events. This is a week for him to really showcase the talent that he has. And he's young. He's not crazy young anymore. I think he's 25 or 26. But Jason Day was talking about today, he sees this guy as a future world number 1. I think a lot of us are looking at him that way, and it just hasn't quite happened. But we know a week like this can be a springboard. And I think he's going to get some big pairings. He's going to get some big matchups and a chance to take down some guys. So I think if he plays to his full potential and the Canadians get really hot, and you got to hope for a fast start. And like the Ryder Cup, Americans maybe come up a little bit sleepy. Maybe they're not as motivated, whatever it might be. But it's almost a everything has to go right situation.
Sure.
We were talking about the pairings, and Weirzy, you mentioned the Canadians, and it would be so important to get them involved, playing well. But if he says, I got to throw some Canadians out early to get the crowd into it, and what if it doesn't work? Then it ends up being a poor decision. Like, he's got some big decisions to make with that.
But I think you have to swing for the fences when you're such an underdog and when the talent, at least on paper, is like so far swung in the other direction. Corey Connors is going to have to play really well this week. He had a bit of a nightmare last time.
Yes, he did.
I was really disappointed to see, not even more Canadians on the team. Like, I thought Nick Taylor in the beginning of the year, he was
a lock,
a shoe-in, and he was, he's won some big tournaments, and he's played really big when he's had to. Just could not find any form at the end of the year. But that's a guy who I as a fan of this competition, I wish he was here because I feel like he'd be the leader of this team, even though the form wasn't as great as it's been.
Well, and the thing is with Nick Taylor is when he's in contention, he's a killer. Like, he can close.
And there's not many of those guys.
That's the thing that I think they're lacking here is, like, Nick Taylor was the #1 amateur in the world. He's a guy that's won major tournaments, the RBC Canadian Open. He won Waste Management. Like, this is a guy you put – the year before Waste Management, he was out there with Sheffler and Rahm and outplayed Rahm, and Sheffler just got him, I think, on 16-17. Like, that's his he has that in him, so to speak, where he may not be in form, but I would have had him on this team. I would have put Taylor on and just banked on him showing up saying, screw it, I'm ready for this.
But
and
you know
the
backlash would have been, I know you're in Canada, but this other player, like a Min Woo Lee, you can't take him off the team.
I understand that. And that's probably why they decided we're not going to do it, because at some point Mike Weir's passport has to be put aside. You got to put together the best team. But Taylor is a guy, I'd put him out with Sheffler on Sunday and say, play him. Like that,
Yeah.
I don't know who else you're gonna send out with Scotty if it's close.
Ever since I remember he went toe-to-toe with Phil at Pebble Beach in 2000, I think it was 19, or
Right.
maybe 20, and he whooped him.
He won.
Like, anytime you can do that, I think that's serious business.
Is there such thing as repeating? Like, what would be this year's version of Weir versus Tiger in the final match? Like, what could that? Is it Corey Connors, Sheffler?
Yeah.
Is it as simple as that, or?
I think it is as simple as that, unless like Minwoo has just one of those weeks. I really do think this could be a breakout week for him. But if not, yeah, you want a Canadian. The problem with the Canadians, they're not the problem, I shouldn't say, but they're all such like understated guys. Mm-hmm. They don't show a ton of emotion on the golf course. It'll be interesting to see if that changes this week, especially Corey. I mean, Corey is the king of, like, I call him a business casual top 10, where it's like you're not sure the guy's ever really interested in winning the tournament, but he's going to take the check. And you might see one or two shots on TV, but then you look up there and you say, oh, Corey Connors finished sixth and made, $400,000. It's going to have to be a little bit more box office this week.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And we'll see if he's got it in him or other players on the international team have it in him or in them. Dan Rapaport joining us here of Skratch Golf. Sheffler, like we mentioned Tiger here in 07, where at that point he had established who he was. He was already, touching up on greatest of all time status. That's not where Sheffler is. But if this continues, like if you replicate the last 2 years and do that over the next 2, 4, 6, and we get to 2030, 2032, and we're saying, man, this guy could be a top 10 player ever, would you expect moments like this week have to be a part of that resume? In other words, he's got to have big, like Ryder Cup, President's Cup moments that push him up that kind of chain of status in world golf and golf history?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think winning the Olympics was really big.
Sure.
And how emotional he was, and I think he's going to be way more emotional this week than he is normally, just because he's playing for the United States. But we live in a majors over everything else kind of world, and it's kind of unfortunate. But we saw this conversation emerge at the end of last year when Xander Schauffele won 2 majors. It's like a lot of guys said they would vote for Sheffler as Player of the Year. They can understand that he had the better year, but a lot of guys would still rather take Schauffele's year. In this game, you're measured in majors, and especially now with the tours divided and the majors taking more importance than ever, it sort of feels like your major count is the only thing that matters. So he only won 1 major this year, whereas Xander won 2. And I think in this day and age, it's sort of like the rings debate in basketball.
Right. Well, and he has only won at Augusta. Do you think is there pressure on Sheffler to win elsewhere? Like, does he have to win non-Masters majors to be kind of in the fight, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's had chances at basically every single
Sure.
one. I mean, they had the Open sort of this year, but not really. But yeah, you got to be well-rounded. You got to win U.S. Opens. You got to win the Open Championship if you're going to be considered an all-time great.
What's it like for you, the vibe around here with no Spieth, no Thomas? They've been such, like the last 4 or 5 of these, it's like send them out first, they collect points, and they're dominant, and they fire the crowd up, they fire themselves out. Is it a different vibe, look at the team without those two here?
It's definitely weird without JT. I think he is kind of the heart and soul, or he has been at least. He's right in the middle where he's not the youngest guy on the team, but he's also not the oldest guy on the team. He commands respect. I think his early career success and how close he's been with Tiger Woods, he has a certain confidence and swagger about him. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but I mean, it just shows how competitive it is in the American side. Like even without, we say Brooks and Bryson would probably be on this team. If you allowed all the Americans, they aren't even that close. Like, it wasn't even that much of a discussion. Spieth is injured, and it's probably the lowest he's been at any point in his career. And JT, despite actually having a better year than last year, when he did make the Ryder Cup team, didn't get that kind of vote of faith that Max Homa really got this year.
Dan Rapaport here. You mentioned the LIV guys who aren't a part of this, and this is a PGA run event, effectively. So I don't think it's necessarily a surprise. But if they were, I don't think there's any question DeChambeau would be on this team. Koepka would be on this team. But what about the international side? How many guys do you think are missing that could really have an impact on the outcome of this?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a few. I think Joaquin Niemann, you start there. Cam Smith. You look at a guy like Louis Oosthuizen still playing really well. Dean Burmester, a guy who never really kind of had a chance to introduce himself to the general golf fans because as soon as he started playing well, he went to LIV. But Abraham Ancer was another guy who was played in President's Cups
Tiny
in
Ancer.
the past. Yeah, I just it's unfortunate. I think it would have been a cool thing as sort of a nod toward future unity. And I think it would make this event.
Did that ever
a lot
come up,
bigger.
you think?
Nah.
They're just not
Why
into
is it Ryder Cup they can, but this they can't?
Because this is owned by the PGA Tour and run by the PGA Tour, and the Ryder Cup is run by the PGA of America, which is a different organization. So the PGA Tour, I mean, this is very much a PGA Tour thing. It is like very clear in the rules. You got to be a PGA Tour member in order to play in this. Which, the event already needed some juice because of how one-sided it's been, and I think without the live guys, it's just disappointing. I think golf fans would have really liked that. I understand it from a business perspective, but it's just kind of lame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, are we getting anywhere closer to any harmony?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
You're
I think
not picking up on it?
No, they had that meeting in New York last week after the PGA Tour. Tiger was always going to be there because he's a charity event right there at the end of the year. I just don't think it's that close. I really don't. I mean, Liv seems to be going full speed ahead. I'm sure they'll pick off another player or two in the offseason here.
Really?
The PGA Tour is kind of making their plans for. We just saw the schedule come out for 2025. I think another thing people think is like, oh, this deal's going to happen, and then they're just all going to come back together. It's like, well, no. First, the Department of Justice would have to weigh in on it, and then secondly, they'd have to create some sort of schedule, and that takes a long time. Think about just the logistics to put on one tournament, let alone 45. 2025 schedule's already done. They're already working on 2026. We're looking at 2026, 2027 maybe right now at earliest. I think Adam Scott said 26, 27. And if you look at the history of these upstart leagues, like the ABA or like, it's about 5 years. It takes a long time for these things to happen and for them to merge. So I think it's bad. I mean, the ratings have been really bad. It's not good.
Yeah, it's a struggle, man.
Yeah.
You just mentioned logistics. Where did your head go when you were driving in and police were redirecting everybody?
Yeah.
And it was about you mentioned a 90-minute drive out there. Obviously, you hope
That's
that the
bizarro world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
players
crazy.
are sorted out so they don't have any incidents rolling in.
Ever since Scotty, I think you operate with a lot more caution for these guards. You never know who's had a bad day. You never know who's had his pants ripped. So I definitely roll down the window and I speak very slowly and I'm very deferential.
Yeah,
so.
you should.
You talked about Minwoo Lee for the international side. I think a guy who's very popular and very well liked for the Americans is Sahith Theegala. Like, if he has an outrageous tournament, he could just skyrocket and just be on a different level. He could be that guy.
I think that's right. I think he finished third or fourth in the FedEx Cup, made $1 gazillion, and still the story of that week was him calling the penalty on himself. I think everyone loved that. Just showed the kind of guy that he is. I was talking to him earlier, and he was saying that this is a real moment where, saw his parents. I grew up like playing golf with them, so I know him very well. They're from India. They moved to Chino, which is kind of like wrong side of the tracks, Orange County. Not the greatest area.
Yeah.
And he worked in IT, worked their butts off to fund his golf, journey. And for him to make it here, it might not be the biggest tournament in the world, but I think it's the first time he's represented the United States as a professional, as like, you're one of the 12 best. And I think, he really appreciates that moment. And that his family will be out here and screaming. Everyone loves his dad.
Yeah.
He's got a certain relatability that I think people really pick up on.
Absolutely. I don't think that was a penalty, too. I don't think
Couldn't
he
see
touched
it.
his hand, man. I kind of appreciate he did it, but it cost him like $400,000, and I don't think he touched his hand. Personally.
But don't
I'm
you
just
think
saying,
that
like, they broke
sometimes
that down.
a guy in the bunker would just see something where he's like, I know I saw that, whereas a viewer, you say, there's no sand there, but you've got to trust the guy that's
Obviously,
in the
that's
bunker.
why he called it on himself.
He's being honest, too. Like I say, what if he wasn't honest and there's some camera angle or something,
That's
Then he
Yeah.
turns into the biggest grease ball of all time.
That's the
Exactly.
fear.
Well, that's what happened with Patrick Reed in
I was just
2019.
gonna say,
It's just, isn't it amazing that Sahith can look at that and say, like, I think I moved it, and then Patrick Reed can be presented with literally a video of him digging a sand
hole.
castle, and he's like, I don't know
I don't know
what you're talking
to tell
about.
you, man.
I don't see it.
It's all good
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
It's all good for me. Dan Rapaport joining us here at Royal Montreal. In terms of the setup of the course, like, it's not a PGA Tour event where we always ask, what do you think the winning score is going to be? Will it be 15 under, 20 under? Do you think it's going to play tough? I mean, I don't know how you approach it to the format of this tournament, but would you expect it to play fast, long, tough? What are you hearing on the course?
Well, the rough is juicy. It's not super warm, so I don't think it's going to be like a U.S. Open type test. The rough will be very long. It's kind of spotty in parts. But they want birdies at these kind of tournaments. They don't want pars to win holes. So
Right.
I would expect a lot of the par fives to be made to be reachable. I would expect some drivable par fours. When you don't have to. When you remove par from the equation and you don't have to look at like a -20 score, I think they set that up a little bit easier just because they want birdies to win holes.
Yeah, you want action.
I like that. I think especially coming in, I think 16, 17, 18, really good finishing stretch.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, also we were talking like they don't even set up tense on 18 because the chances of matches even getting there, generally it doesn't even get there.
Yeah, sometimes they change routings to, if there's like a real signature 18
They did that
hole.
at Quail, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that's right. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think the Green Mile was made instead of being 16, 17, 18, it was like 13, 14, 15 because you just want to make sure. Yeah, the vast majority of matches don't get to 18.
Right. Yeah, Quail Hall, you got to have the finish there, man. You can't go there and not play 18.
Yeah,
right?
no kidding.
Like, you have to play 18 there. Mike Weir, in terms of what's at stake for him, like he said, up here he's revered, greatest Canadian golfer ever, wins the 03 Masters, obviously beat Tiger here in 07. That was a really significant moment for him. He's had a really good run on the Champions Tour, and now he's the captain of the President's Cup. Like, if he finds a way to get a win here, what does that mean for his overall legacy?
Yeah, it's significant. I mean, there's only one other guy who's managed to do it. So, if you're a captain of a winning international team, that's a feather in your cap that not many other people can put on there. And I also think, like, just a good week as the captain. I mean, Trevor Immelman was the captain last time, and they didn't get the win, but I think everyone came away with that with such respect and, revered the job that he did, and it definitely elevated his status within the game. He's back as an assistant captain this week. He's almost like a second captain, having already done it before, and his voice with the role that he has in golf right now on CBS in the U.S. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity. There's no downside.
Do you buy into the idea that they did enough the last time to gain momentum? Because that's what they were talking about. They're like, they made it close. They've got a chance. They made it exciting on the weekend. Do you think there was enough there to actually say, now we can put this over the top?
I think if they had the live guys, it'd be a better shot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, definitely from like a identity perspective and from a camaraderie perspective. I was watching them out there today. They're all boys out there, which is it's a cool mix. You've got the kind of the Korean section, and then you've got the Canadians, and you've got some Australians mixed in. It's a real melting pot. But they do seem to be. I mean, they've had dinners all year. Mm-hmm. Mike Weir's made a big effort to try and make sure there is a cohesiveness there, and I think it is there. I think they definitely care about one another a lot more than an international team 15 years ago would have.
Dan Rapaport joining us here live from Royal Montreal, President's Cup. We were on the air, I think it was last week, and right before we went on, we got a note that Tiger Woods had another surgery.
Yeah.
What's up with Tiger? What are you hearing on Tiger and his status?
I wish I had good news or better news.
That's got to be game over.
Yeah, that's what I think
got to be.
It's probably been. There's probably around the 20th surgery he's had, if not more than that. I mean, there's been, I think, 15 that have been widely reported. But you think about how many surgeries he would have had on that leg. That's just counting that all as one.
You would think a doctor would say to him, "You swing that golf club one more time, buddy. You might not be walking after it."
But I mean, try telling him that. Try telling him that. The only thing he's done since he was 3 years old is be solely focused on playing professional golf, and so I think it's hard. And I think his life. I think he likes his life a lot better when golf is in it, when he's working towards something, than when he's not. But from a health perspective, I mean, I was watching him last year, and it was just like to try and play 4 times a year with absolutely no tournament reps and compete with Scotty and Rory. It's
crazy.
Just, it was it was like Don Quixote at some point. Like, I never want to count the guy out. I'll go on record saying I never want to count the guy out.
You don't want to.
But it's 3 Mount Everests to climb.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a climb for him to get to the golf course now, to play.
It's like 3 hours in the morning before he even,
exactly.
And then 3 hours after the round. Think about that can't be fun.
No, it's such a mental and physical grind, and on top of that, then you try to be competitive, which he's not. Like that's the scarier thing. Is not scarier, but like. You actually put the peg in the ground, you start playing. You're like, this guy's not making cuts. And when he does make a cut, he fades on the weekend. You look at Augusta. Like, he actually played really well Thursday, Friday. And it just completely collapsed.
But do you want to remember him like that? Like, it happens to everybody. Father Time catches up with you. But at the end, like, you guys remember vintage Tiger, but now you're looking at him at the end, and he's a shell of himself.
Yeah, golf is weird, though. You're not really taking up a spot. Sort of thing. Like, you don't need a contract. It's not like other sports where you're like, okay, I need to step away because and it's not like, yes, I mean physically obviously he's banged up, but it's not like you go out there in hockey and football and you're not up to speed and it can be like really dangerous for your life.
Right.
That isn't a thing in golf, and every other great of the game has had this kind of winding down process where, you know, they play a couple times a year. They play the majors. Maybe they play their, like, hometown event, and then they kind of slowly fade away. I just think we analyze Tiger more than anyone else, and also because he says to himself and he says to the media, like, I can still win. I think that's what kind of sets the expectations crazy. But if he wants to show up a couple times a year and say, you know, I'm going to try to make the cut, and it's just not who he is as a person.
Yeah, well, exactly. Him lowering the bar to I hope to make the cut, that will be strange.
Yeah.
Like, that's something you're talking about. You just don't want to
I don't
hear
want to
it.
see that.
I don't want to hear that.
I'd rather him say I'm going to win the tournament and miss the cut by 10 than say I hope to make the cut.
I don't
hope
want to
I
hear
make the
that
cut.
anymore.
Well,
either,
we
man.
talk about it
Exactly.
on the show, though. He has a couple tough holes, and then it's the ass grab, it's the limp. You know, it's stuff like that really, you know, we know. It's unfortunate, though, because you want to watch him. In your mind, you have a level for him, and he's just not there.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's tough.
I mean, not surprised, but you know, I thought the accident might have been the end. You know, that would have been
Right.
kind of
Absolutely.
He was lucky to escape with his life. But listen, the guy's would certainly earned the right to do whatever he wants to do with golf, and it's amazing how much the tour is still kind of
needs him.
beholden to him, almost in a way. Like we've seen with the Saudi stuff. Like I think nothing is really happening without Tiger's approval, which is strange. It's a strange dynamic because he's not. No one thinks he's going to win a tournament next year, but he's still the most important person.
And he's made all the money in the world. It doesn't matter.
It's certainly
what's
not about
happening
money.
with him.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, what is he? He's not getting anything financial. I mean, he might, but yeah, it's an interesting story. We'll see what happens with Tiger moving forward. Skratch Golf.
Yeah.
What do you got here? What's
yeah.
going on here?
I got a new gig. I was with Barstool for the last 2 years. Just time for a change. I wanted to kind of forge my own path. So I joined Skratch, which is in the process of being kind of revitalized. This company called Pro Shop. The guy who really was the driving force behind the Netflix show, a guy called Chad Mum, who I've known, I've worked with him through the Netflix show, started this new media company. So I'm really excited about what we're going to do, have some more access and stuff, and hopefully bring people closer inside the ropes. That's
Awesome,
that's my goal.
Beauty. Well, good luck with that. It's great seeing you, man. We
Cool.
appreciate you doing this.
Yeah,
There
thanks
he
for
is.
having me.
Absolutely. Dan Rapaport, live from Royal Montreal Golf Club up here in Montreal. Who do we got coming up? Sean Campbell's coming up at TSN
Nice.
690. We'll catch up with Sean. We'll tee up a few things with him, including the buzz in the city for this tournament, for the Habs playing tonight. Leafs in action as well. We'll get back into that. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Jays in action tonight. Leafs in action tonight. You've got golf, obviously, coming up this week, which is going to be exciting. The NFL, the CFL. It's a thing of beauty, man.
Big
It is
time.
a thing of beauty. And Leafs playing in Ottawa tonight. And Easton Cowan's playing again. Grabenkin, I believe, is playing. Nikita Grabenkin is playing. We'll see what he's got. And Nick Robertson's playing.
I don't even know the backstory on Grabenkin. Is he a draft pick? Is he?
Yeah, he was a late-round draft pick. I think it
Yeah.
was an older kid that went through the draft once or twice, and I think they took him in the 5th round, and he had a good year in the KHL last year, and is a big kid physically. Actually got in a couple of fights in the K, and
Yeah, 5th rounder in 2022.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
21 years old. You know, I mean,
he's
looks
got
like
some
he-
size, physicality. I think the plan is to bring him over and assimilate him to North American hockey, play with the Marlies. I can't imagine he makes the team, but I wouldn't be shocked if he played some games for the Leafs this year.
Guess where he played in the K? Magnitogorsk,
All right.
team that I went to.
That's your squad, man. You guys are 2 alumni. You should be in the alumni box.
So is Nikolai Kulemin, too. That was my
Is
teammate over
Kuhlman
there.
playing tonight? He was playing the
don't-
other night.
He did play the other night. I didn't notice him at
Either,
all.
I
unfortunately.
didn't.
I heard his
did
name once on the like literally once on the broadcast.
Yeah.
It's pretty thin.
Yeah.
Although, did you see him being interviewed the other day? He said that he wanted to come back. His son is going to play junior or something over here, play minor hockey, and that's what
Yes.
he wants to play over here.
That was, I believe, basically the reasoning why
Yeah,
he
that's
wanted
the
to
reasoning.
come back over.
Yeah,
And
he was-
maybe that means he's willing to play where, in the American League, or just retire? I don't know. Would you give a spot to Kuhlman in the American League? I don't see really the purpose in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did mention that he wanted his kid to be playing over here.
But that Grabenkin kid, I've seen that style of player. I've seen that situation unfold so many times where you get razzle-dazzle and you're like, wow, there's something there. And then you see it just kind of, it always seems to fade.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems they struggle with the consistency. And it's like, that's what it takes to play in the league for 7 or 8 years.
Yes.
Like, you can't just show up and do it one period and then disappear for 2, or do it 1 week and then disappear for 3 weeks, because you're out of the league.
You have to get past, like, game 10, I always find. It's an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
But if you're still moving and looking like a pro by game 11, that's a huge marker.
Yeah.
But if you're flying out of the gates and then fading, and then by game 7 or 8, you played 6 minutes, and then it's like, actually, we're going to healthy him tonight to reset. It's like, that's where it's going.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to spin
the
out of
coach
control
has
here.
to have some comfort in saying, I know what I'm going to get out of that guy.
Yes.
There's going to be 5 or 6 games for the year.
Yeah.
For the year, where it could be just a write-off and he's not himself. And then there's going to be 10 where it's not bad, he's pretty good, but it's not his best. And then the rest of the time, you got to bring your A stuff. Like, that's what
right.
the big leagues is all about. It's
That's
your
right.
A stuff a lot of the time.
Agreed. You have to have that. You have to have that consistency. That's one thing at the NHL level. It's all about consistency.
Facts recognize that about you.
Well,
You
I
know
was
what?
waiting.
I thought it was,
appreciate that.
as much as I love Facts, I thought it was greasy for him to say that right in my ear. Like, it was so greasy how he just shook my hand and then he goes, by the way, you do a great job. And I was like, Facts?
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, he should have spun that around the table.
Well, he said
that
he
should
could have
been
said,
spread
"You
out.
guys."
If we
Everyone-
were all tight
awesome.
together, he could have said, you guys do a great job. But he singled
He
you out, and
isolated
God,
me.
did you like it.
It was.
Wow.
I got to be honest. It was a confidence boost.
But
was
you
a
said,
boost.
I didn't hear it. I'm just taking second words from him, but you said, I do.
I did
you
not say that.
And I heard the words in a sentence. I can't confirm or deny. I heard him say, I do do that. Facts.
Yes, I
Thank
do
you."
do that. Facts.
And that
Thanks,
is
buddy.
greasy. But I have to say, you pulled a 20-year-old move today, because somebody sent me a snapshot of you doing the YYZ to the YUR, dude.
Yes.
No way.
Yes. I'm one with the youth, man. I'm in tune with
Do you
what's
know how
happening.
people, before they travel, they'll be like, YYZ's the airport Toronto
that's-
code.
Yes,
Pearson,
that's
yeah.
right.
And they'll do that, and they'll do
To
a picture.
Y-
This guy,
YUL,
Doogie,
yeah.
you've got to
I
send it to
posted-
Joe from the Bridge.
I posted on Instagram. I posted a story.
But what he did, he took a picture of himself on TV with Sarah Davis doing Sports Center, and then he's like, at the airport, YYZ.
Oh, so you were watching yourself
Well,
on TV.
I was having breakfast this morning, and I was up on SportsCenter. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm watching it. I'm like, that's a good post. I'm trying to post more. Now, someone sent me a DM and said, that's like Arthur Blank putting himself in the Ring of Honor. He did say that. And I blocked and reported that guy.
Well, it
immediately.
is.
I said, that's an obscene
Well, if you
comment.
would've
You are
wrote, like-
Arthur Blank. That is such a grease pig move. Come on, man.
Why can't I post that? It was I'm having breakfast. I'm waiting to go to
I got a
Montreal.
text somebody saying, get control of your boy with that screenshot, and I just was beside myself.
YYZ to whatever the airport
YUL.
code is.
This is YUL. Yeah.
YUL, man. I was flying into YUL, and I wanted everyone to know we're on our way. And I was having breakfast this morning at YYZ.
But why did you need a picture of yourself on TV?
Well, because the
in
point was I was
background?
I was in the restaurant having breakfast, and it was up on SportsCenter.
Okay, so
I don't know
honest,
one
just-
person that we work with that would take a pic of themselves.
Well, it wasn't
Unless
like a
you were
selfie.
19 and just starting out and
Just-
saying, I'm in the business.
just be honest.
You're 40.
Did
You're a
you-
40-year-old man.
Did you try and get anybody's attention?
No,
like
of course not.
There was a
Stop
waiter or
that.
something,
Stop
and the waiter
that.
and like kind of
Never.
point up there, like, hey.
Now, I'll tell you what I
Joe
was
from the
thinking.
Bridge,
Check the
toss up
TV.
the pic. Let's see how gross this is for this guy, 40-year-old man, grown man, and he tosses this one out on Insta. We don't have it.
We don't have it. It's
Okay.
on Instagram. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to post more stuff. I'm trying to be interactive with people.
All right.
One thing I did do, because I was on with Jay last night, I wanted the other TV to be on TSN 3 so I could be on both at the same time. Then I was going to take the picture.
But you would point that out to the waiter.
then I
You're like,
would
hey,
take the
look at you got both channels up here. That
would've
happens
been
to be
greasy.
me.
That would
Holy
have been all right.
smokes.
Sean Campbell's on. He's probably hung up. He doesn't want to
Yeah,
hear this garbage.
Wow.
Think
Bring him
about
in.
it.
Bring him in.
Here he is from Campbell versus Gallo on TSN 690. Sean Campbell. What's happening, Sean?
I'm 45, and I was part of the Crave Rebuild series. I 100% took a screenshot of myself.
Thank you. See, that's appropriate. Why not boost your own profile, Sean? I
But
love
Sean, what is the motivation to snap the pic? Are you creeping around for likes, or what is the reason?
I'm 17 years in radio, and I'm never on TV. So this is exciting when
I
you
love
get
it.
to see that face of radio on TV.
I love
right,
it, man.
all right.
I support it. I will repost it, retweet it. I'll give you a like, whether it's greasy or otherwise. And you do the same back to me, and we're all good. We're all in the same boat. So we've been in Montreal here for like 12 hours. What has been the build-up towards the President's Cup? Like, how would you explain the buzz for this event, maybe compared to 07 when it was here last time?
Yeah, 07 was the first year I worked at TSN 690, and I was on location where you guys are for 7 days straight, 12 hours a day.
Oof.
And that was our coverage. Our coverage is a little lighter this year, but, 5 days we're going to be there broadcasting all week long, just like you guys. There's good buzz, and this has been building up. The President's Cup crew has really been building up for about 18 months. And the golf community, which whenever I go to a golf course, they always ask, hey, what's coming up with the President's Cup? Sean, are you going to be there? Can you get me tickets? I want to go. Everybody wants to be there. It's such a big event. And you can be excited about the Canadian team with all the Canadians on it, and the Team International is going to have the crowd behind them. But the star power of this U.S. team, I don't know if we've seen anything like it. So there is definitely buzz in the city.
Sean, did it just sneak up on the guys working on the roads? The bridge around the corner needs to be fixed. Did it just sneak up on the people that the tournament was happening? Because you figured that bridge was a pretty important one to have ready. It was quite the circus getting here today.
Yeah, I left very early this morning to make sure I got there in time. Little secret, the first apartment I moved out of when I was 20 years old from my parents' house was across the bridge. And that bridge was under construction 24 years ago.
Nice.
And it is still under construction.
Oh, it's one of those ones.
Oh, no.
Just
Yes,
permanently under
absolutely.
construction.
So don't expect anything to change when it comes back in another 20 years.
Okay, we appreciate the consistency anyway. Well, yeah, no, it's a cool buzz up here, and it's going to be great throughout the week. And we're in Toronto. It's always comparing, different events to the teams. And in Montreal, the Habs played last night. They're playing again tonight. And we were joking. We were watching RDS, or I was watching RDS, and it's in French. I can't even understand it, but it sounded like it was a jacked-up crowd. People buzzing about Laine, buzzing about this Hutson kid.
Yeah.
In terms of the anticipation for the Canadian season, how would you describe it? And is there reason for optimism? Because on the outside looking in, we're not feeling it necessarily. We're not seeing it, but you live it day to day. You live here. You follow this team closely. What are Habs fans thinking in terms of their chances this year?
I think that there's a lot of optimism around this team right now. And it's not even the Patrick Laine. I think that there was optimism before they picked up a potential 40-goal scorer via trade for a depth defenseman. They expect Slafkovsky to jump into the 30-goal category. Nick Suzuki has another level. That 40-goal season for Cole Caulfield is coming. The return of Kirby Dach. The list goes on and on. And you mentioned it. Lane Hutson, if you were in the building last night or just watched the TV, the moment he touches the puck at the blue line, goes left to right, the place goes nuts. It's anticipation for something special or magical to happen. Now, once the hockey season starts and you get a couple losses in a row, that's going to switch the positivity to negativity. I work in sports radio. I know exactly how that turns quickly in this city. But the buzz and the anticipation for this city is huge. Perfect example. Our drive show host, Mitch Melnick, longtime sports radio media personality, every season says, I never watch preseason hockey, can't do it. He watched the entire game last night. That's kind of the feel for what we have in this city.
What a sacrifice by Mitch. What a sacrifice.
Well, he's grinding down. So if Montreal is going to take a step this year, you just mentioned and laid out some of the players to take a step and get to that next level and maybe be pushing for a wild card spot. When you look at the goaltender position, do you feel like has one guy pushed through? Is Primo the future here? Has Montembeault done enough to be a number one, or do you think this will be a platoon like tandem situation?
I don't think their plan is tandem. I think their plan is to give Primo a shot to show that he can be an everyday backup. And if Montembeault goes through some struggles, they'll give the reins to Primo. They have that flexibility. But this is their team. And for all I can forecast, Montembeault will get approximately 50, and you'll get 30 and change from Primo. They won't have the 3-goalie system that they went through last year. And as much as everybody hated that 3-goalie system, as much as I hated talking about the 3-goalie system, I think it helped Montembeault, and I think it helped Primo. So I think these two goalies are in the exact situation they want to be. I think the Canadiens are very comfortable with their two goaltenders, and there's really no one else knocking on the door. Jakub Dobeš had a really good season in Laval, but he's not ready just yet. We know that Fowler's in university. The Canadiens organization's high on him, but you know how long it takes for a goalie to get it to the NHL. This is Montembeault and Primo's team. It might end up being 40-40, but if I'm going to project, it's 50 for Montembeault, about 30 for Primo.
Sean, who's creating the bigger buzz on the ice? Is it the Hutson kid or Patrick Laine?
I think it's Hutson.
Wow.
I really think it's Lane Hutson. I know the Patrick Laine is hype, and he touched the puck, went blue line to blue line, and the crowd went nuts. Now, he hasn't scored a goal yet at the Bell Center. That's going to be a moment. But Lane Hutson, the rumors swirling around how exciting he is, and every time you mention his name, everyone compares it. He's going to be the next Makar. He's going to be the next Hughes. He's going to be the next Fox, which is very unfair to Lane Hutson.
It's exciting, though.
Unfair. It is exciting. I don't know what's going to happen. He's already in the Calder conversation, and he hasn't even made the team yet. The buzz is around Lane Hutson right now.
I love that.
Patrick Laine, it's preseason. Let that buzz hit on the regular season. But the story is a little bit, is Lane Hutson going to make the team? I'm pretty sure he is. But it's exciting. I think it's Lane Hutson has a little bit more buzz.
Yeah, and I think that probably should be the case. I mean, the young stud that could be a number one defenseman, that goes a long way.
You were talking about the vibe on this kid. I don't know if you're being facetious with that tweet you sent out.
Well, obviously he wasn't at the airport issuing welcoming messages. I don't think it's reached that point for Lane Hutson.
You said there was a buzz, though.
I was not being facetious when I mentioned the buzz. And some of that was social media related. But I just reading, different articles and getting into town and people buzzing about it. Again, RDS, all I heard was Hutson.
Just that pass alone in an inter-squad
in
game.
a scrimmage.
It was trending on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, this is the question. We're chatting with Sean Campbell at TSN 690. Is it to a point here with this rebuild and this transition where Hutson, he almost has to play? Or do you think that if they felt like it was in his best interest to go to the minors and play in Laval to start the year, would they do that? Or is marketing going to be a component here in buzz and ticket sales and feeding the mob, so to speak? Does that factor into decision-making in terms of whether or not he makes a team?
I don't think they need to feed this mob. It's hungry enough. So I think they'll be fine on that front. Every indication from Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton is that if a player needs to go to Laval, they're going to send them to Laval. And if they send them to Laval, I'm fine with that. I do play-by-play for the Laval Rocket. I'm in. I'll watch Lane Hutson every night over at Place Bell. Mm-hmm. I think this organization is fine. They won't cater to the media. They won't cater to the fans. They won't cater to the pressure or marketing saying we need this kid on a poster. But everything I've seen from last year to the prospects game to Campbell versus Gallo broadcasting live the first 2 days of training camp and scrimmage, I haven't seen this kid take a second off. It's impressive what he can do with the puck. It's impressive how hard, he works offensively on the blue line. But the work ethic in drills, the work ethic at practice, I know it's there for everybody, but it's truly impressive when I was watching it firsthand. I truly think if he makes the team, it's on merit, not on marketing.
Sean, we were talking about the Habs making a push, playing meaningful games, much like Ottawa. Would you say, or would you agree with the idea that the young defense core limiting the mistakes and opportunities against might be the biggest factor in that happening meaningful games in the spring?
Yeah, there's a lot of young defensemen from Arbor Jackeye, Jaden Struble. If Logan Mailloux makes the team, if Lane Hutson makes the team, Justin Barron's trying to be knocking on the door. If these young defensemen who are not going to be getting 10 minutes, they'll get significant minutes. If they start turning over the puck, if they start taking too many penalties, which led to Jackeye being sent down last year, it's really going to put more pressure on Matheson, Gooley, who's still one of those young defensemen, and Savard. And you don't want to tax them so early in the season. if they can rely on young defensemen playing steady hockey, they'll be able to be afloat to hopefully, as their key word was this year, be in the mix when it comes to the playoffs. I think it's a good example. Those young defensemen that they have to lean on, they're going to have to play good, solid defense. And I think that's one of the decisions they're going to have to make when it comes to their final roster. Are they going to carry 8? Are they going to carry 7? How many rookies will be on this team? We haven't even mentioned David Reinbacher, who tonight is playing alongside Mike Matheson, and he was a 5th overall pick just 2 years ago.
Right.
We were talking about it the other day, last week actually, about this. It's called the rebuild on Crave. I mean,
he's in it. Sean Campbell's a star in it.
I mean, how excited is the market about it? Because, you know, it's more. We've seen other documentaries on trying to win a championship. All of this. This is complete opposite of, you know, building it from ground up. Is there a big buzz around here about it?
Yeah, it's been received very well. They've released 2 episodes already. My mom's told me all about it because she knew that I was going to be in it for about 4 seconds. It was really exciting. But yeah, it's the Canadiens fan base eats up anything they can get behind the scenes. And this documentary really gets behind the scenes. I was talking to the director. I was talking with one of the researchers. And they were telling me they gave us carte blanche. We were in meetings that no one's allowed to be in. We were in the dressing room when Martin St. Louis was really upset, and then he has to go to the podium, and then he acts a little bit differently. So it's only been the first 2 episodes, really the only first 2 games of the season. So I'm really interested to see how it progresses through 8 episodes throughout 82 games. That's the next step to see here. But everything I've heard from people watching it, they really like the behind-the-scenes access, because in the Marc Bergevin era, you never got that. It was Marc Bergevin. You never even heard about a Montreal Canadiens trade until their account tweeted it. No one had any information. Now we're behind closed doors, and they're breaking down how they're looking at the draft and who they liked and who they didn't like. This is information you don't normally get, so I think the fans are loving it.
Do you know the guy who approached Jeff Molson and hated the opening ceremony last year? Do you know that guy?
I do not, but that did make me laugh.
That guy was
That's insane.
Hilarious.
That's insane.
Worst ever. See you later.
The best part after that, Jeff said, next year we're going to have the best ever. So
there you go.
We're talking about Leafs and Habs on the 9th of October is going to be the best ever because that guy said he hated last year's.
I love it.
Good for that guy to make this year's better.
That guy may have jammed the Leafs up, man. The
Dude,
Habs are
that
going to
guy,
be
I
flying.
told you yesterday, he deserved a stone cold stunner right from Molson's elbow right to the ground.
It's a paying customer, man. Maybe he's had tickets since the Forum or something. I don't know.
You don't go up to talk to
Worst
people like that.
ever. See you later. It was outrageous. But great TV. I love it. All right, Sean, great stuff, pal. We appreciate you doing this. We'll do it again soon.
All right, I'll try and catch up to you guys at the President's Cup tomorrow.
You got it.
If I can find you.
Yeah, we're here, man. We're looking forward to it. There he is, Sean Campbell of Campbell versus Gallo, TSN 690 here in Montreal.
What did you call it? The Stone Cold Stunner?
Stone Cold Stunner. Imagine Molson hit him with a stunner. Said, chew on that with your analysis.
Just right up behind and just took him right down and just said, I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah. Throw me a couple of beers and just start smacking him. All right.
Awesome.
All right. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel coming up. We're live at the President's Cup. Maybe we sneak in and confirm it on Eye After Dark.
Sure.
All right.
All right. Maybe it'll be about my Instagram account. We'll find a way to.
Dude, find the picture, dude.
We have the picture.
Okay.
Oh,
Do you want to just put it up? Can we put it up?
Put it up. Confirm,
Noodles.
Confirm
I
it.
gotta see
Confirm
it.
or deny that this is just promoting the show.
Look
promoting
at
us,
this guy. That's
promoting
himself.
everything.
Why
The guy
is
that-
he-
But I'm in a
why are you-
restaurant. I'm
Dude,
in a
the
restaurant.
guy
in
that
Toronto.
took this picture is in the picture. That's insane.
It's no different than taking a selfie and posting it. If I took a selfie of us right now and posted that.
You know the coach that said, come after me? I'm a man. I'm 40. You're 40.
I'm 41. I'm older than that. All right. Apologies. Sorry, I'll take it down. I mean,
No,
I
it's
don't know what
probably
to
got
tell
a
you.
lot of buzz. What
It's
was
up there. Sarah, I don't know. Maybe Sarah was cool with it being posted. What's wrong with that?
What did somebody
Sarah and I had
call
a
you
great
again?
hit.
What's the owner that put himself in the ring of?
Oh, Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank.
Some guy wrote me this morning. He goes, dude, that's an Arthur Blank move.
Dude, it is. I guarantee you that was Frank Corrado.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Frank
Yeah.
Corrado.
Oh,
it
my
wasn't.
God.
It was some other guy, and I just wrote him back. I said, I was kind of like, that's actually a pretty good comparison.
Pretty funny. It
yeah,
is pretty
it's like,
funny.
get serious, dude. And then he's like, I'm dead serious. You're Arthur Blank. All
my
right,
God.
Overdrive continues live from Royal Montreal, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Bowden Francis on the mound again tonight. Total's really low, 7.5. I'm not going to touch that, but it kind of feels like a low number tonight. But I'm going 6+ strikeouts for Francis. He has been so good every fifth day. He's lights out. And Vladdy, hitless last night. I don't think that continues tonight. 2+ hits for Vladdy. That paying plus 321 on FanDuel. Today's best bet's powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19+, physically located in Ontario. Tomorrow when we have more time, it's been such a crazy, awesome afternoon. Chris Bassett speaking on that start, game 162. He's slated to pitch the final game of the year.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, because it sounds like they may not pitch him and they'll make the bullpen pitch or make some kid come up. And he was kind of going off like, screw that, I'm pitching. Like, that's not fair to anyone else.
It's his
I want to
start,
pitch.
yeah.
But it's like one more thing, Bassett versus the front office, because the front office may not want to pitch him. Like, why put him in a position to get hurt last game of the year, just get into the offseason? It just
He's a grown man. If he wants to stand up and say I'm pitching, I'm not mailing. I like the idea of
I
not
love it.
Yeah,
I do too.
I'm pro Bassett here because he's saying it's not fair to a kid to bring him up or the bullpen to do it. I'm ready to
Like,
pitch.
it's my
I
start.
wanna
Let me
pitch.
do it. Exactly.
Yes.
I
But
don't mind that.
it's interesting that Bassett versus the front office could be having another
Well, we'll see how they deal with him in the offseason.
possible dust. Exactly. He's
Yeah.
got another year left on the deal. So tomorrow, practice around here. We're going to be here tomorrow throughout the week. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a lot of people join us. Jeff Gorton will be on tomorrow.
Nice.
Who's the man at the top with the Habs. So we're looking forward to that. And we'll be coming off a Habs game tonight, a Leaf game tonight, Blue Jay game tonight. It's going to be an awesome afternoon tomorrow. We're here all week. So it's getting dark too, man. Like that's you
Little
notice
cold
it's
here,
late
too.
September. It's getting chilly.
Little bite.
Little
I don't mind it.
dark.
hockey weather.
Hockey weather. We
Yeah.
love it. The Bell Center is going to be rocking downtown tonight.
be.
All right. So thanks to everyone behind the scenes for hopping out. We appreciate it. Whether they're here in Montreal or back home in Toronto, we appreciate that. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We certainly appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at.
You do a hell of a job at this.
I do.
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
I do.